Don't forget to follow the Meticulous Manicurist on your social media sites. Remember to subscribe for a new video every Tuesday. In this video, I'm going to talk you through applying acrylic on your right hand with your left hand or your non-dominant hand so it's as symmetrical as possible. So stay tuned. I've taken off the old acrylic to play with some colored acrylic powders I got in, and I left the silver acrylic on the thumb because I wanted a silver thumbnail again. So here I'm applying the primer, and then we're going to start with the thumb and just fill in with the silver Easy Flow. It's from Boogie Nights. It's called Lights. When you're applying acrylic with your non-dominant hand, you need to keep the brush perpendicular to the cuticle or straight up the nail so the application has the best chance for being symmetrical. I pick up a small bead of acrylic and place it just in front of the cuticle line so you can carefully press it backwards because you want the application at the cuticle line as thin as possible. And then I'm just tapping and walking the acrylic up the sidewall and then smoothing it up the nail plate. When you're doing your own nails, you always want to apply small balls because it's easier to apply more acrylic if you need more than to put on too much and to have to file it off. You'll spend way too much time filing your nails if you apply it too thick. Now on the corner of my nail I have a little missing spot because I'm constantly hitting it on the nail file when I file other people's nails. So I'm just adding a tiny bead of acrylic to the tip so I can correct that shape. I guess I could safely say that my position on doing acrylic on your left hand is to make sure you do all of your edges first, so your cuticle line, your sidewalls, and the tip of your nail. Make sure all of the edges are covered and then worry about the center of the nail and the shape of the nail. You want to make sure that the thickness at the cuticle and at the tip are thin and tapered, and then go back and fill in the center or the shape of the nail. You can see that the primer has already dried on the nail plate, so you want to apply another coat of primer right before you apply the acrylic to the nail, so the adhesion is the best that it can be. So we're going to start at the cuticle line. We're going to place our ball just a couple of millimeters away from the cuticle, and then we're going to press and scoot the acrylic just over to the sides. You're just going to tap and pull and brush it up the nail plate, but you've got to be careful not to brush it all the way up onto the nail, because if you get the primer wet again with just the monomer that's in your brush, it's going to ruin the bond between the acrylic and the primer. So you only want to be pressing on the actual acrylic, not just on the plain nail. Now when I applied this bead to the top of the nail, I turn my hand around and you can see that the brush is straight up and down the nail plate, and you're going to keep your bristles as straight as you possibly can. And then I'm just pressing and tapping to the left and to the right to get the acrylic all the way over to the sides, and then I'm going to smooth it down and blend it into the first color of acrylic. Before the acrylic has dried all the way, you want to press with pretty good force to blend and smooth those two colors together. You want to make sure that it's as smooth as possible. There aren't any lumps and bumps, so you have very easily filing. And you're always going to check out the side view and a view from the top to make sure where you need to add your next bead of acrylic so your arch looks the way it's supposed to look. Now I'm just adding another color on top to blend these two together and to perfect my shape. Again, a coat of primer. We're going to pick up our ball, set it in the center of the nail, lightly press and tap to the right, all the way over to the sidewall. Be careful not to get it on the skin, and then you're going to do the same on the other side of the nail. And you can see how much pressure I'm putting on the bristles. You really want to press that acrylic into the nail because you want it as thin as possible so you don't have a big lump of acrylic to file off. Next, I'm going to show you an example of not waiting the proper amount of time before picking up your bead of acrylic and placing it on the nail. It's way too sticky. You always need at least 3 seconds after you pick up the bead of acrylic. See how it's stuck to the brush? I have to wipe that off and start over. And I still didn't wait enough time. You need to wait. I always do the count of 3. I must have been in a rush, not thinking clearly. Because you can see how the bristles of the brush were still kind of sticking on the acrylic. Here in a second you're going to see me, I press way too hard and I'm moving a little too fast. See how I press that too hard and it goes off to the side? Well, now it's just, tough cookies. I'm going to have to file that off because moving it back into place is kind of impossible at this point. I'm going to try and straighten the edges as much as I can, and then I'm going to have to file that when the acrylic is dry. Something I forgot to mention earlier is when I apply the bead of acrylic onto the nail and I'm going to move it to the left and to the right, I'm only using the left side of the bristles on the brush when I move it to the left, and then I use the right side of the bristles when I work on the right side of the nail. I kind of turn the brush in my hand. So just see how I'm going to the right side of the nail. I'm only using the right side of the bristles, and to the left, I'm using the left side of the bristles. Technically, all of the bristles are touching the nail, but I'm focusing on the left and the right. That's how you control the acrylic not getting on the skin. Pick up your bead of acrylic, sit it on the top center of the nail, press it to the right with the right edge of your brush, press it to the left with the left edge of your brush, then blend the acrylic down into the center of the nail. Then assess what your shape looks like before you add the last bead on top of the nail to even everything out. This nail had a big missing spot on the left hand side, so I'm just adding another ball of acrylic, evening everything out. Now on to the pinky nail. Pinkies are tiny, so you have to be really careful or you'll get the acrylic all over the cuticle area. So just pick up a kind of a small bead, put it in the center of the nail, press with the left side of your brush to the left side of the nail, the right side of your brush to the right side of the nail, and then just very evenly press down and pull up so you can thin that bead out onto the nail plate. Now we're going to add our bead of acrylic to the top center of the nail, sit the bead on the nail, press to the right with the right side of your brush, press to the left with the left side of your brush, and you can see I'm kind of rolling the brush a little bit in between my fingers so I can get that curve of the nail. Now applying acrylic to your right hand with your left hand or your non-dominant hand is the most awkward thing in the world. So the best chance for success is to stick with the routine. Do the exact same thing on every single nail. It's always better to apply it thin so you don't have a lot of filing. Sometimes after you file the nails you might need to go back and add a tiny bit more acrylic, and that's okay too. So just practice, practice, practice. And the video for filing the left hand I will leave at the end screen. So thanks for joining me, and everybody have a great day. Here are some other great videos for you to check out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.